Thank you. Thank you. All right. Welcome to Unity Spiritual Center, everybody, on this beautiful day. And we're going to sing "Swing Wide the Doors." So let's stand if we're able, and this is one we've done before. Ready? Yeah. Two, 1, 2, 3. Swing wide the doors, the time is right. Swing wide the doors to let in the light. Bring in the dawn for humankind. Swing wide the doors of this heart of mine. Swing wide the doors, the time is right. Swing wide the doors to let in the light. Bring in the dawn for humankind. Swing wide the doors of this heart of mine. I'm not holding it in anymore. I'm gonna shout it out loud. I understand now what I'm here for and what this life is about. It's about love, it's about laughter, it's about comfort and smiles. It's about love, it's about kindness, it's about hearts open wide. It's about love, it's about passion, it's about taking a chance. It's about love, it's about service, it's about lending a hand. It's about lending a hand. Swing wide the doors, the time is right. Swing wide the doors to let in the light. Bring in the dawn for humankind. Swing wide the doors of this heart of mine. There's a voice that I've heard for years. I learned to keep it inside. Well, now it's coming in loud and clear. I want a deeper life. It's about love, it's about laughter, it's about comfort and smiles. It's about love, it's about kindness, it's about hearts open wide. It's about love, it's about passion, it's about taking a chance. It's about love, it's about service, it's about lending a hand. It's about love, it's about laughter, it's about comfort and smile. It's about love, it's about kindness, it's about hearts open wide. It's about love, it's about passion, it's about taking a chance. It's about love, it's about service, it's about lending a hand. It's about lending a hand. Swing wide the door, the time is right. Swing wide the doors to let in the light. Bring in the dawn for humankind. Swing wide the doors of this heart of mine. Swing wide the doors, the time is right. Swing wide the doors to let in the light. Bring in the dawn for humankind. Swing wide the doors of this heart of mine. Swing wide the doors of this heart of mine. Oh, thank you very much. See you, please.
Good morning, Unity. Good morning. Let's swing wide the doors. Oh, as you can tell, I'm not Reverend Gordon. We kind of gave him the day off. He deserved it. So, for those who may not know me, I'm Michael Small, and I just became a student here at Unity, SEE, Spiritual Enrichment of Education. I just found that out, what that meant this last week. So, I'm on my way to get into ministry. That was my hope. Thank you. Anyway, we have a special day planned for you. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about me later, but we're excited that you're here. I just told all my friends that we're having a barbecue, and a lot of them showed up. So I'm glad you're here. Today is a great day because we're finishing up the word power, or the month of power. And if you're new here, we've been learning about the 12 powers. Charles Fillmore was one of our co-founders, who described, sorry, my computer is just going crazy. Charles Fillmore, our co-creator, described the 12 powers of God, which is faith, wisdom, enthusiasm, power, imagination, love, order, life, strength, release, and will. He also assigned each disciple to the 12 powers, and this month happens to be Philip. However, Reverend Gordon has been using the female heroes of the Bible. Woohoo! A lot of it is because the female archetype is hardly represented in our male-dominated world. So, the theme today is I am powerful. So, if you go online, go to your social media, type in I am powerful, and if you could, silence your cell phones or turn them off, that would be awesome. Anyone here for the first time, please raise your hand so our ushers can come find you. We have something to give to you that's really important. It is our welcome packet, because we want you to know whether you're here in person or on Facebook Live. We want you to know here at Unity, we leave no one out, whether it's your race, religion, gender, identity, or sexual minorities. You are a beloved child of God, and we love you just the way you are. So, Martine, I think we're ready.
All right, we're going to start out with a few announcements for you today. We have ongoing Tai Chi and Qigong classes with Sharon Mon. Now, because of the holiday on Monday, we won't be doing it this Monday, but the class will be on Wednesday from 9 to 10 here in the sanctuary, and there is a love offering donation. Our Unity Explorers hike is at the El Morro National Monument. They're going to Inscription Rock on Saturday, this coming Saturday. We're going to meet at 8 a.m. in the parking lot here and drive up to the monument. And Reverend Gordon will be leading the way. Our USC men's group also starts on June 4th. 8 a.m. in the fellowship hall, and that will be hosted by Michael Small and Reverend Jim Marshall. Town hall and potluck. So we have been doing our potluck on the first Sunday of the month, and this month we haven't done a town hall for a while. So Reverend Gordon and the Board of Trustees invite you to participate and to learn what we've been doing behind the scenes so far this year and what's ahead for us. It'll probably start around 11:30 or so after you get some food and some coffee. Volunteers for Pride Fest. If you would be interested in helping with our USC booth at Pride Fest on Saturday, June 11th, contact Michael Small. He's here today. You can talk to him about it. And there's also a sign-up sheet back at the events table. And Michael, you want to say something about that?
I do, and if you want to help out but can't be down at the parade, we're actually, we have some paper that we're going to hang up. We're going to hang up in the coffee. Yes, in the fellowship room, we're going to need your affirmations that we're going to send to Pride this year. So if you can come back after the service, write some affirmations. We would love to take that to Pride with us. It'll be this Sunday and next Sunday. Thanks.
Cool. Thank you. Well, and that's a wrap for the announcements today, but we do have more information coming out all week via email. You can actually read your email and find out about what we're doing. You can go to our website or to the USC Facebook page. And if you have questions, you can call the office at 292-1998, Tuesday through Thursday from 10 to 3. Okay. So you've met our guest speaker, Michael Small. I'm Martine Bachman, your platform host, and our prayer chaplains today are Susie Orchard and Susan Lundy, and they'll be available to pray with you after the service if you would like. Usually one person is stationed on this side and one on that side of the room, and they are ready to pray with you for whatever your prayer needs are. Todd Lowry is our music director. And our special music today is by Todd and Ken Pitzenbarger, our music team. And now I'd like to introduce our trustee of the day, John Tywald.
Good morning, everyone. Let's do our mission. We inspire spiritual growth through honoring many paths: education, prayer, sacred service, and abundant living. Our vision, centered in love, we see a harmonious world of divine expression. Our core values: we are Christ-centered, loving, inclusive, joyous, uplifting, open-minded, and fun. And our unity credo: we believe all people are created with sacred worth. We serve all people in emotional and spiritual ways. We welcome the diversity of all. God and unity leave no one out. Thank you.
Thank you, John. For our congregational song today, I'd like to acknowledge that tomorrow is Memorial Day, and we're going to do America the Beautiful with the second verse, or the third verse, I guess it has, about heroes. So let's all stand up. I like to do it sort of in the style of Brother Ray Charles. So channel your inner Ray Charles. So here we go. We just do it a little more soulfully. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of green. Thank you very much, you guys. Please have a seat. In this very room, there's quite enough love for one like me. And in this very room, there's quite enough joy for one like me. And there's quite enough hope and quite enough power to chase away any fear. For Spirit, God's Spirit, is in this very room.
Good morning. The word of the day is comfort. I lean into my divinity for comfort and strength. Sometimes the sadness of the loss of a loved one overshadows my memory of happier times. In those moments, I refocus on the joy and love we shared, knowing wherever we are still bound together in heart and mind. The principles of love, strength, and understanding are present in their entirety at every point in space at the same time. They are available to me and everyone. I know and feel love, strength, and understanding infuse me as well as those I hold dear wherever they are on their journey. I demonstrate love, strength, and understanding with ease and grace. I bless everyone who comes to mind. I speak loving and supportive words. My simple acts of kindness bring comfort to others as well as myself. I lean into my divinity for comfort and strength.
In this very room, there's quite enough love for all the world. And in this very room, there's quite enough joy for all the world. And there's quite enough hope and quite enough power to chase away all the for Spirit, God's Spirit, is in this very room. We're going to get into our meditation with a bit of a tune by India Ari called I Am Light. I am light, 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 I am light. I am not the things my family did. I am not the voices in my head. I am not the pieces of the brokenness inside. I am light. 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 I'm not the mistakes that I have made, any other things that cause me pain. I am not the pieces of the dream I left behind. I am light. I am light. I am light.
I am that light. You and me, we all come from the light. As we pause and allow that to become who we are at this moment, I breathe in that knowing that we're more than just light. We are the heart of God's love. So I invite you to relax into the presence of God's love and light. Our Creator, our Mother, Father, whatever name that you call God, because we are that light and love. Know it and feel it. In this space of love and light, one cannot be worried, and one can't live in anxiety. We know we can't live in fear. We know the world is suffering, and many people live life in that suffering, finding no reason to hope and no healing. Our Christ of our being knows the way out of the untruth and into perfection, which is to live life in the image of God, in the image of Spirit, because we have a choice. We have a choice to make a world that is good or one that is something less. We know it starts in the mind. It's where we put our focus. Christ tells us that we can heal and give hope to a community, especially to a community who has lost its children this week. But Christ tells us we can do more than he could. That's because of the word love. We don't just say it, but we live it. We care for the people around us, not because we live in a world, but because we're doers. We can do all of this because we are co-creators with God. The world we see is what we put our intention on. And the gifts we receive, we share with the world around us. Because I see this world as one. So let us rest in silent contemplation and wonder. And so, we are filled with life energy as life is. Remember, right now, you are the light. That we are powerful in prayer and action. So today we send love and healing to the families and victims of last week's shooting. We send peace where there's no war or conflict. We send rain to a very thirsty Southwest. Most important, to world leaders and local leaders to work together in peace and harmony, and for them to rise up to serve the best that they can. I hold this space with others. Let us remember who we are. And now I bring us back to our physical experience and remember all that we are child of the light, or children of the light, and so it is.
Thank you, Michael. Some of you may know that Susan Clark was scheduled to be here, and she called me last night. She tested positive for COVID, but she says she's fully vaxxed and fully boosted. Hopefully it won't be too bad. We do send our best wishes for a speedy recovery. And you might notice Brian's gone. He's also ill, not COVID, something else. But so it's me and Kent today, and this is a song we pulled out of the bag called "I Ask Myself This." 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Every day I search for new answers, 'cause the old answers don't always work. What is the way to find my bliss? Well, today I ask myself this. I live in the questions in the moment. Sometimes questions are more important than answers. What is the way to find my bliss? Today I ask myself this. How do I grow spiritually? How best do I shine my light? How do I live in the mystery? The answers are all inside. Today I live in the questions and all the blessings that they bring. How should I start to open my heart? How do I set a new goal to awaken my soul? How do I take the time to expand my mind? What is the way to find my bliss? Today I ask myself this. Today I ask myself All right. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Isn't it wonderful that we have a music director who can pull a song like that out of the bag? But he's written like 1,000 of them, so yeah, he's a real blessing to us. Thank you, Todd.
Thank you.
So it's my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker today, Michael Small. Michael moved to Albuquerque from the Northwest in 2018 with his partner of 24 years after spending 15 years supporting people dealing with trauma. He was living and breathing peer support and recovery coaching. 4 years ago, he earned his BA in psychospirituality. He's been active in ministry for 17 years. His focus is on the needs of men, gender and sexual minorities, and those struggling with addiction and substance misuse. Michael served on the church council in an inner city activist church in Seattle, where he led a men's group. He led a needle exchange program and laid the groundwork to bring his community lunch program into his church for the needy. He has also led spiritual retreats and has sung for many years in various men's choruses, changing hearts and minds through his love of music. For the past 3 years, he has worked as a middle school teacher, but next week he returns to his passion, addiction and recovery work. Since joining Unity last fall, Michael has learned Reiki. He is now volunteering as our platform host and as an usher greeter, and is starting a men's group at Unity. He is working with Reverend Gordon on Pride Outreach also. Michael sings with the New Mexico Gay Men's Chorus. Please welcome Michael Small.
Well, I'm happy to be here. Now, if I can get this computer to work right, we'll be in seventh heaven. They gave me more electronics. That's all I need is more electronics. So, let's see, all the way to the top. Here we go. Maybe one of my favorite pictures is this one here of all time. I love this because it really describes the woman taking the time to take care of the animal, the elephant. Love is just a word until someone comes along and gives it meaning. And to me, that's a beautiful picture. It's about how we live out the word that we see. It's how I see the world and why I love what I do. It has changed me, so I'm really excited about sharing this with you. And it's both an honor and a blessing to be speaking to you. The reading this morning comes from the book of Acts. It's about Philip and an Ethiopian. It's one of my favorite Bible stories. And Philip, I chose Philip because we were talking about power this month. And as many as you know, that Philip is the faculty of the mind. Philip means lover of horses or the ox. It's about finding your strength. The following reading starts with Acts chapter 8, verse 26. Now the angel of the Lord said to Philip, "Go south to the road, the desert road, that goes down from Jerusalem to Gaza." So he started out on his way. He met an Ethiopian, a eunuch, an important official in charge of the treasury of Kadak, which means Queen of Ethiopia. This man had gone to Jerusalem to worship, and on his way home was sitting on his chariot, reading the book of Isaiah the prophet. The Spirit told Philip, "Go to the chariot and stay near it." Then Philip ran up to the chariot and heard the man reading Isaiah the prophet. "Do you understand what you're reading?" Philip asked. "How can I, unless someone explains it to me?" So he invited Philip to come and sit with him. This is the passage of scripture that the eunuch was reading. "He was led like a sheep to the slaughter, and as a lamb before the shearer is silent. So he did not open his mouth. In his humiliation, he was deprived of justice. Who can speak of his descendants? For his life was taken from the earth." The eunuch asked Philip, "Tell me, please, who is this prophet talking about? Himself or someone else?" Then Philip began with this very passage of scripture and told him the good news about Jesus. As they were traveling along the road, they came to some water, and the eunuch said, "Look, Here's some water. What can stand in the way of being baptized?" And he gave orders to stop the chariot. Then both Philip and the eunuch went down to the water, and Philip baptized him. When he came up out of the water, the Spirit of the Lord suddenly took Philip away, and the eunuch did not see him again, but went on rejoicing. Many of you know now that Jay and I are foster pit bulls. Fostering pit bulls means that sometimes we take dogs until they can be adopted. Well, today we have 3 dogs and 2 cats. Actually, we have 6 dogs and 2 cats. A lot of them found themselves in situations through no fault of their own. Now, you have to understand there's a danger of fostering dogs, because you might wind up keeping the dogs that you fostered. One such dog came to us. Her name is Peggy Sue. She's still with us. She came to us in January. And we have no plans to adopt her. But when she was here, she started exhibiting problematic behavior from the very first night she came to live with us. When Jay took her out for her last potty break of the day, she slipped off her leash, and Jay and I had a heck of a time trying to get her back into the house. Now, many of you know that we live in the mountains. It's the middle of January. It's cold. We were actually concerned that night because the temperature was going to be between 0 and 20 degrees, and there have been several coyote attacks in the neighborhood, and we also have lions and bears and bobcat. And this is where you say, "Oh my." I knew that's where it was going to go. For 3 days and 3 nights, Peggy Sue stayed out in the bitter cold because she was afraid. She was really afraid. It finally came to an end three nights later when Jay finally trapped her to bring her inside. Getting her back indoors came to some sort of relief because that night the temperature was going to drop to sub-zero temperatures, high winds, and more than a foot of snow. I remember getting up in the middle of the night and checking on Peggy Sue. And I would lay in bed most nights listening to make sure that she was okay while she was out and about. She still does not like me. We got her in. Every time I go and I leave to go to work and I come back, she still barks at me. When I leave the room and I come back in, she still barks at me. She doesn't really care for Jay, but she tolerates Jay. But that's my mom. She loves my mom. She'll lick her face and her arms and curls up and goes to sleep. This is how I beat the dogs. Even without knowing the dog's psychology or the history of the particular dog, it's not a huge leap to ascribe that the way a dog acts is something that happened previously in the dog's life. So why is it hard to apply that same principle while assessing someone who's currently suffering from addiction or who has suffered from addiction in the past? I should know because I'm one of those people. I've been an addict for 17 years, and many people either ask, "What is wrong with you?" or simply get up and walk away. For the past 17 years, I've been working on me, and in my 17 years of recovery, I have only slipped once into active addiction. So let me ask you, what is addiction? When you think of addiction, you might think of about a behavior that's illegal. You might think about a person shooting up heroin or meth in a dirty doorway downtown. Here's a definition of addiction. It's not mine, but I believe in it. Addiction manifests in any behavior in which a person finds temporary pleasure or relief and therefore craves but suffers negative consequences in the long term and can't give it up. Notice the definition does not contain the word drugs. And I said any behavior, knowing that the substance abuse is an important subset of addiction behavior. Now, by the show of hands, how many of you know someone who's dealing with addiction? And now you know me. Now keep your hands up and look around the room. That's almost everyone in the room here. Okay, you can put them down. A fun fact, in 2017, the U.S. Surgeon General reported that 1 in 7 Americans will face some sort of substance abuse during their lifetime. The financial cost is astounding, over $740 billion, and that's about $2,300 per person. So everyone is affected, whether you like to think it or not. Now, using that same definition of addiction that I gave you, why do you think so many people become addicted? Do you think that this is due primarily to anxiety, depression, being abused, not being accepted? The list could go on. Mostly people engage in addictive behavior to seek relief from their pain. In the story of Philip and the Ethiopian, here's a backstory that many may not know. But the Ethiopian went to Jerusalem to worship in the temple. But he was shunned out and kicked out. He was told because he was a eunuch, which today we would call that being gay. He was not welcomed in the temple. In 2004, I was diagnosed with HIV and hepatitis C. Only in the following year, as I started putting my life together after dealing with meth and being homeless, did I realize the impact of these medical diagnoses has made on my life. Gay men struggle with many issues, from fear of aging to exposure to HIV, as we strive to understand how to fit into the mainstream American culture, which doesn't always accept gay men. I had to deal with my own internalized homophobia. I realized after being diagnosed with HIV and hepatitis C that my spirit was broken. This meant that my recovery was going to be a little different from most people who attempt to recover from drug addiction. I turned to religion and spirituality to navigate the challenges of living as a gay man, and I wanted to make sense of living in the world as graceful as I could, despite my anger, my fear, despite the impact that being sexually abused has had on me, and despite my shame about being HIV positive. I am far from the only gay man who has been told the big lie: you will never be happy, you will never be loved. Even the spiritual teacher Eckhart Tolle said, addiction begins in pain and ends in pain. What I want to say is, when it comes to recovery, there's no single right way or wrong way to tackle addiction. There are only ways that works for me and that may not work for you, and vice versa. There are many pathways to recovery. This was mine. I've chosen to tell my story not because my journey is especially important, because it's not. What is important is the message for those who find themselves in sexual minorities, that recovery is possible for them. Long-term recovery for years or even decades of addiction. If you are carrying the pain of addiction, you don't have to carry it anymore. At least you don't have to carry it alone anymore. We were all meant to fly. Yet we often find ourselves bound to anger, fear, shame, anxiety, and judgment of other people. Many people in the sexual minorities have been broken far too long. And this is why my purpose has been and remains to help those in recovery find healing in their spirit. When I surveyed the traditional approaches of recovery, I found little that resonated with me as true or that offered much confidence that I would ever recover. I was hurting spiritually, and my broken spirit was broken. So perhaps it's not surprising that I settled on a spiritual path in my quest for recovery. However, when I turned to the church, I didn't find what I hoped to find. I was disappointed by the church. Ideally, the church should be a place of healing, not just a breakfast club for privileged folk and conditional drama. Dogma. Drama, the same thing. Thank you. Early in recovery, I went to church to help heal my brokenness, and I found a community there, but unfortunately, not the healing that I craved. I found people who loved conditionally, and I found way too much politics for my taste, given the Bible clearly says Give to God what is God, and give to Caesar what is Caesar's. I learned that while Christians tend to talk a lot about love, practicing it in the life of the church is another matter. When I realized that the church was not the right place, I left it. Everything fell into place after that. On my journey, I discovered Tantra, Gnosis, the teachings of Samadhi, Alan Watts, the writings of Martin Luther King and Wayne Dyer, and the teachings of Jesus. That's just to name a few. I realized that my inner journey was my responsibility, and so I sharpened my focus and I became a spiritual warrior. I came to believe that each one of us is both fragile and beautiful. I discovered the urgency of awakening spirit before it was too late. I went back to school and eventually received a bachelor's degree in psychospirituality, and I became a seeker of truth. And I wanted to find the power, and I needed to bring healing to the inner spirit. I wanted to bring healing to find that inner spiritual warrior and support and the sport to give me the courage and the patience that I needed. I found support in peer groups and through spiritual teachers. My purpose became helping others to find the power and strength to heal themselves. Then Jay and I decided to move from Seattle, Washington to Albuquerque, New Mexico. I wanted to open up a healing practice here. Within my first year, I opened Pure Albuquerque. At first, we had an HIV support group and meditation group. We were growing. We just trained a whole bunch of new facilitators. After the first of the year, we were going to start doing recovery for methamphetamine. Unfortunately, after COVID started and we had to close. For those who don't know, peer recovery is led by facilitators, by someone who's successfully gone through the other side of recovery. And then they return to help others, his or her peers, straightforward. We create a place where people could meet other people going through the same thing. This was a place to exchange ideas, to exchange blueberry pie recipes, if you will, as my former boss would say. It was a safe place to connect with others. We had a place where other forms of recovery may not work, but the tools received here would pay off in the end. It's called Smart Recovery or trauma-informed care. Many people think addiction is a disease or a conscious choice. It's partly true, partly untrue, but let me explain. A disease can run rampant in a body that is not at ease, one that cannot settle into a groove of serenity. You cannot tell someone with a heart disease, just deal with it, because that would be disrespectful. But you can say, let's work on healing the body and start to work on the cause of the heart disease. For example, through the change of diet and exercise. That approach could help change someone's life. In the same way with addiction, when an addict starts to recover, he or she puts the drugs on the back burner and starts to work on the challenges. The emphasis is no longer on the addictive behavior, it's now on the cause of that behavior. I like this model because an addict starts to walk away from the drug and the false idea that it could ever provide lasting relief. Is the person still using? Yes. It's called Smart Recovery or peer support. Does it work? Yes. It did for me and countless other people. And over time, the need of the drug diminishes and eventually disappears. And then, of course, when COVID happened, I was forced to close my business. My business partner died shortly thereafter, and my dad got sick and he died. Soon after that, my stepmother passed away, and for a while I was the sole breadwinner in my house, which caused a lot of stress. My work went online. Instructing teenagers in music online is quite the experience, especially if it's not their choice. It's so easy for them to turn the computer down or off or whatever, but you can tell that they're there, but they're not listening. So my students didn't want to work remotely, and I hated moving from the classroom to Zoom. I was taking care of my mom. The support network that I had built up for myself right after moving here was gone. We tried using Zoom for our meetings, but we couldn't because either their volume wouldn't work or their video was too slow or the internet was too slow. Before long, they gave up, I gave up, and I relapsed. Mind you, this was the first time I relapsed after being clean for a decade and a half. I soon realized who my friends were and who were not my friends. As soon as I said that I relapsed, many people pulled away from me, and I was starting to buy into other people's stories about me, that I could not be counted on, and that I was high risk. My narrative was that many people were there only to watch me fail. Voices inside of me were telling me, "You're not good enough. You'll never be good enough." The narrative was resurfacing hard, especially the words of a condemnation from my dad that I was still carrying around in my head. My dad was a Vietnam vet, and like most vets who deal with PTSD, some of them were undiagnosed and untreated, which manifested in behaviors that were abusive, manipulative, and at times frightening. He had an ongoing paranoia as well as psychological and behavioral addictions, hypervigilance, and a need to be in control of and superior to everyone else. By the last year of his life, he was in complete isolation because everyone in the family had walked away from him. He had become unbearable, and he had disowned me because some of my friends on Facebook were Obama supporters, and he believed that I was the head of an organization that was going to overthrow Trump. Who had time? I had to deal with my father's obsession for the first 50 years of my life, and I had developed some interesting coping mechanisms. And I thought that I had worked through a lot of the legacy of my father's abuse. I believed that 2020 was the first year that would give us 2020 vision. I was correct in the sense that my core unresolved issues resurfaced with great clarity. You're not good enough. You'll never be good enough. You're gay. You're stupid. You have dyslexia. No one will ever love you. My dad was dying. He was incapable of psychologically reconciling with me after all the tools that I have learned that had helped me to deal with my trauma was gone, so it seemed. All my fears and all behavior and emotional numbness resurfaced. As a result, I began to push people away, and I began to shut down or lash out. I became deeply depressed. Although I pretended that everything was okay, I didn't feel okay. I tried. I started to hide my addiction. What is sad is that all this happened, my relapse happened, even though I know recovery like the back of my hand. I knew that what I was supposed to do, but all I wanted was to escape and self-sabotage. I asked my doctor, what could I do? Because I knew I couldn't live this way. Everything was shut down due to the pandemic, and he suggested a therapist, and it wasn't not just any therapist. I found a therapist who believed in trauma-informed care, which happens to be my area of experience, and I started with 1-hour sessions over the phone with her. This was not a traditional way of getting therapy, but it did not bother me. She didn't judge me. What she did was help me find my strength, which gave me the power to accept my shortcomings. I had been able to find a way out of my addiction before, and so I can do it again. What I'm learning from you here at Unity is that there's only one presence, only one way, only one that when it comes to gaining power, power does not come from getting power over others. True power is about allowing God to be in charge of your thoughts and your emotions, and I've learned to develop self-awareness to do what Spirit is calling me to do. During 2021, last year, I wrote a letter to my dad, and I told him that I forgave him. I let go of all the resentment I carried from what he had put me through. He died this last week, a year ago, 3 days ago. I took inventory of my life, and this is what I found about me. People will be critical of me. I need good friends who will give me constructive criticism to be my sounding board. Really good friends are going to support me when they're not, and they're not going to be mean-spirited about it. It's okay to be vulnerable. Whoops. It's okay to be vulnerable so that other people can see the real me. I am vulnerable with my weight and about being a strong gay man. I'm loving and I'm generous to others with my time, talent, and treasure. As Maya Angelou would say, when they see you coming, it should make them proud because of where you came from. I'm right here, right now, which means I'm a strong and powerful gay man who enjoys giving to others. Just because I'm a giver doesn't mean that I'm going to have to say yes to everything. I think of the phrase in the Bible, let your yes be yes and let your no be no. Whether I say yes or no, it's my choice. You cannot live a balanced life if you're excessively worried about offending others or chasing the illusion of perfection. The people who are rooting for me are going to be there to support me when I fall. So when this happens, my friends generally will say, Michael, you just took a detour. They still believe in me and my self-worth as a person. Every life has a purpose, even my dad's. Your job is to live life with hope. My mantra is life is a classroom. Everything is a learning experience. I love Wayne Dyer's idea that I'm a spiritual being having a human experience. Carolyn May says you can wallow in your own pain and suffering, or you can harvest your wisdom. She also says you can give away your power, or you can take the power back. It's your choice. You can live in love or fear. It's up to you. For example, you go to the store looking for something to eat and find that one thing you shouldn't eat, and that little voice says to you, you can't eat that, but you eat it anyway. What you're doing is you're shutting down that inner voice and walking towards fear. You cannot live in anyone else's expectations or force yourself to conform to what they imagine your life or your purpose to be. If you're living in someone else's purpose, you will always be unhappy and you will fail every time. You must find your own purpose. I want to leave you with this thought. I remember driving back from Spokane last year and thinking of the pain that I was dealing with and the suffering that I was holding on to and thinking of getting high so I can forget about the pain in a moment. Of course, I didn't because I was driving. That would be really bad. I couldn't, but anyway, I began to have a deep appreciation of the pain that I was experiencing. My window was down and the wind was hitting my hand. I was so lost in thought that all I remember was the wind hitting my arm and hand with so much energy that it broke my train of thought, and I remember thinking, I don't like feeling this way. There's a beauty in feeling the power of the wind, the breath of God. One can shift perspectives from deep sadness to deep love by shifting a thought and taking charge of emotions to develop self-awareness and do what Spirit is calling us to do. It is possible to change one's own world and follow one's own inner voice and step into a life that you imagine with unlimited power. If Philip had not been there to help the eunuch might have thrown away the book of Isaiah. It could have been swallowed up by the desert wind and sand. The eunuch might have never been baptized. What if I decided to get high? I may not be speaking in front of you today. To me, the drive was the beginning of the breakthrough that transformed my life a second time. The transformation has helped me to heal me and helped me to remember why I chose this path in the first place. So thank you for loving me just as I am. Thank you, each of you, for allowing me to tell my story. Namaste. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Michael, for telling your stories. This is a song called Right Here, Right Now. Heaven is not a place. Heaven's a state of grace. We create heaven in our own time and place. Right here, right now. Truth's not something out there. Truth inside us all the time. To know the truth, you simply have to trust yourself. Right here, right now. You receive what you give to the world. So give the world all of your heart. Let your heart be filled with love and joy. Open your heart to love. So you have to love like there's no tomorrow. Love so hard you can't love anymore. Love cannot fail because love always will prevail. Right here, right now, right here, right now, right here, right now, right here, right now. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Todd and Kent. That was a perfect coda to Michael's wonderful talk today. All right. It is time for thinking about how we can support our Unity Spiritual Center. Our love offerings and tithes are the sustaining life of this church. And whether you're attending in person or viewing on Facebook Live, we ask for your support and we are grateful for it. You may donate on our website, www.uscabq.org, by clicking at Give at the top of the homepage, or you may text to give at 855-912-6560. Lovingly we give and joyfully we receive. And now I'm going to call forward our ushers who will be circulating to allow you who are here in person to share your love offering with us if you wish to. Would you please join me for our prosperity blessing? In a universe overflowing with the allness of God, all the needs and desires of Unity Spiritual Center and those we serve are bountifully met. From every direction, known and unknown, expected and unexpected, our abundant good is here now. Thank you, God.
And we're going to do a little tune. Actually, Michael requested this. It's kind of like a campfire tune or something. It has a great message. 1, 2, 3, 4. It only takes a spark to get a fire going, and soon all those around can warm up to its glowing. That's how it is with God's love. Once you've experienced, spread His love to everyone. You want to pass it on. What a wondrous time is sprung when all the trees are budding. Birds begin to sing, the flowers start their blooming. That's how it is with God's love. Once you've experienced it, you want to sing. It's fresh like spring. You want to pass it on. I wish for you, my friend, this happiness that I found. You can depend on Him. It matters not where you're found. I'll shout it from the mountaintop. I want my world to know the Lord of love has come to me. I want to pass it on. I want to pass it on. Are there kids out there?
Children today? Are they coming? Do I hear the pitter-patter of little feet? We wait with bated breath
It looks
to welcome you. Yes, yes, they're coming.
well.
Okay, let's hit it.
You are walking in the light of God. 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 You are walking, 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 walking in the light of God. You are walking, 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 walking in the light of God.
Good morning, Unity family. Oh, so good to see you all. How are you today? Awesome. So we're small but mighty today. We have two people. We've got Aria and Peggy. Would you like? So they're not into sharing right now, but if you'll join me in blessing them, I'd really appreciate it.
You are a perfect child of God. God, I love you just the way you are. All right, it's time for our peace song. Let's all stand up. You can hold hands if you feel comfortable doing that. And 1, 2, 3, here we go. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
All right, please join us for the prayer of protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.
I just want to say one more. Thank you guys for coming to the barbecue. I hope you had enough to eat. If not, there's probably coffee in the social hour. I want everybody to have a blessed week. God bless you, and thank you for coming.